computer. We are now officially open. This is, I think, the 17th or 18th, I'm losing count, meeting of the 60s Music Online Discussion Group. And we're here with Gail McGregor, Bill Thompson, Liz Orrell, and other people who will most likely be joining us. And Gail was talking, we're going to be, after going through the Beatles, the Stones, the 27 Club, that's Jimi Hendrix, uh, uh, Jim Morrison,
and Janice.
and Janis.
Janice.
Those were the three that died at 27. Then there was the Beach Boys, uh, and then there was Creedence Clearwater, and then there we went into soul with Motown and Smokey Robinson and Marvin Gaye and Gladys Knight and the Supremes and Martha and the Vandellas. And today we're focusing on Aretha Franklin. And to me, this is one of the most inspiring subjects we've had to date. And doing the research, I was just thrilled. And Gail was just sharing about when she saw Aretha in person, and then I'll tell my story. But go ahead, Gail.
Well, the first time I saw her in person, I actually got to share the stage with her.
Wow.
Wow.
It was a huge benefit for Rosie Greer's One Giant Step, and he and Marlo Thomas were the producers of it. And it was held at the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion in Los Angeles. And the orchestra conductor's daughter was taking vocal lessons from my vocal coach. And she called in a panic saying that Marlo was petrified because she had to go on stage and sing, and she can sing, so can he get her some people who could, a girl or two who had a huge range, can sight read, and could memorize quickly. So my vocal coach called me and said, oh, and she has to have a gown, and, like an evening gown, because it was like this big whole thing, and Jackie Onassis was giving the after party, and it was just like, so I get this call from my vocal coach, and he goes, well, since you played the cello for so long in orchestras, I know you've got a gown somewhere. And so I rush over to the music center and such on the bus, because I didn't have a car at the time. It was like 77 or 78 or something like that. And we had a 20-minute rehearsal with Marlo and Rosie. And then we had all that time to memorize the material. And then we went on at 8, and this show started at 8:00. So there's all sorts of people, Booker T and the MGs and Ray Charles and all sorts of and A-grade people. And we did our little shtick on stage and such. And as I came off the stage, there was Aretha. And of course, my legs turned to jello. And as I nodded, I kind of, I felt like I should curtsy, but I nodded and smiled. And she put her hand on my shoulder and she said, girl, you've got it. You keep singing.
Oh, how supportive.
And I said, thank you. and kind of moseyed on. And I was in shock. And then I sat down on a stool backstage, watched Ben Vereen do his thing and such. And I was still like floating on air. And when it came down to the finale, they had told us where they wanted us to be. So I went to where they wanted us to be, near Rosie and Marlo. The next thing I know, here's this woman holding my hand and pulling me next to her. And it was Aretha. Mm. And I just went, okay, well, every gig from now on, it was my first professional gig. And I said, there is nothing that will ever get better than this. And that's my Aretha story, besides seeing her, like probably 18 years ago when she was in concert, and brilliant. I mean, none of the flash and fireworks and all of that. Sit down at the piano, play along, go stand center stage, whatever. She just exuded power, authority, compassion,
Yep.
and just she filled the audience. I mean, complete. I mean, I almost reverence, from the audience toward her, and the energy flow between audience and performer was just so palpable. And it was like she went out there, she sang, she performed, she exuded the emotion that was appropriate for the song, and no artifice, no divadom. It
No
was just,
ad.
I'm here, you're here, let's have fun.
Well, I can attest to that. I, in order to do my workshops here, I do a lot of research. And one of the places I went to was Wikipedia. And I read an exhaustive biography of her. Also, there's that movie Respect. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes.
And I'm gonna watch it again because we're doing 2 weeks on Aretha, not just this week but next week. And so I advise you, if you haven't seen it, and I'm going to watch it again, I'm going to watch um, Respect, and then I'm going to also watch the Blues Brothers because one of the songs we're going to listen to, she sang in that movie.
It's a great scene. It's a
It
great
is,
scene.
for
But
sure.
the one of the things, the highlights of her career, I was in the audience because I used to be a Grammy member. I'd go to the Grammys. It was the late 90s. I forget, 98 or somewhere around there. And Pavarotti was supposed to sing this Italian aria.
Nessun Dorma.
Yes. And he couldn't do it. And they needed somebody at the last minute who could read and who could sing it. And she had done a rendition of that earlier in the week at the Music Cares event. I used to go to all that stuff back when I lived in LA. And I still have my tuxedo. I haven't worn it in years. Um, I don't participate very much in that anymore. But I was really in the middle of that. And there it was. She came and she sang the tenor part because she had to sing in the key that the orchestra knew, which was the tenor. And she killed that song. She sang it. And, I've never heard her sing opera. I didn't know. You don't think of her. I mean, she's Queen of Soul. You don't think of her as the Queen of Opera. There was a standing ovation for 5 minutes. Everybody was electrified. And so that's one of my highlights in my nearest experience. And there it was, one of the highlights of her career.
Wow. Wow. Just wow. What a lot of people don't realize is that the same technique that you use in opera, you can use to modify for the kind of singing that she did. Pat Benatar also
I was
sang
going to
opera.
say that.
I sang opera,
Right.
and
Okay.
yet, it's like when I would sing stuff for church, they had no idea that I sounded, in other circumstances, I sounded like a big black woman. And the people
Yeah.
who heard my CD and saw me perform that way had no idea that I could sing Mozart. So it's just a slight difference in how you deal with the uvula,
Yes.
from going to screaming rock and roll and never hurt your voice and singing opera. And so somebody who could sing like Aretha, who has that control and who has that amazing quality of and purity of tone, um, that actually translates so beautifully into the operatic world. So I was not surprised at all when I heard that come out of her, and when I heard her sing Nessun Dorma, because it was like, I always thought she had that there. Yeah, I was right.
Wow. Well, anyway, I thought we'd have more people by now. Let's get cracking with the music. And I have several songs keyed up for us. I thought I would go to uh, one of her early recordings to show where she started. And then we're going to go mainly to the late 60s, 67, 68, 69, when she had so many hit after hit uh, on the Billboard charts. But the first song she recorded, first of all, she was born in Memphis, and the family moved to Detroit when she was 4. And her father was a preacher, and he had a church, and he was always preaching. And she and her sisters, who later became her backup singers, um, they would sing gospel in church. So she grew up with that. And he wanted her to go into more jazz blues, like Dinah Washington kind of stuff, her father. Anyway, when she was 18, she recorded for a smaller label. Then she went to Columbia, and then eventually to Atlantic, was when she started being totally soul. But I have queued up for us one of a song that she did in 1960, and it's when she was 18 years old. And of course, she sounds like much older than 18. And it's a blues, and she just nailed it. This wasn't quite soul yet, but you can hear just in the way that she sings. And it's called Today I Sing the Blues.